Hi, everyone. Um, this is my second or third attempt. Uh, we've had some distractions and disruptions. In any event, uh, it's been a tough week, of course, here in Israel, tough 10 to 11 days here in Israel with all the terrible things that have been happening. And I wanted to perhaps draw a little bit of inspiration and maybe guidance from this week's Torah portion of how we should behave. Parshat Noach, in particular, the comparison that our sages teach us with regards to Noah, um, the hero, so to speak, of this week's Torah portion, and Avraham, the hero of next week's Torah portion. Um, the Torah itself says that Noach is a righteous individual. He walked with God. Um, it doesn't seem that it can get much better than that, except, of course, the sages read into that and say Noach might have been righteous. Noach might have been a pure individual, a holy individual, but that's only in comparison to people of his time. If we compared Noach with, for example, someone like Abraham, then we would not see his righteousness shine through. And I'd like to understand why that is. There are many different answers that are offered. Some suggest that Abraham, when God tells him he's going to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, he argues with God, where Noach simply accepts the fate. But I'd like to look at a different idea. And this idea can, I think, be best understood by looking at three times in which Noah and his sons and his wife and his sons' wives are told to enter and exit the ark. So the first time the Torah talks about them entering into the ark, it says that Noah and his sons entered into the ark, and then uh, Noah's wife and his sons' wives entered the ark. And there's a suggestion, I think, if you understand the nuance of the text, that they enter separately. It's almost as if Noah understood that now is not the time to fulfill one's own sort of personal needs, that he separates from his wife physically, intimately, sexually. Now is a time to empathize with the destruction going all around, the suffering, and perhaps it's not the time to be thinking about building one's own family. Perhaps one has to empathize with everything that's going around at that point in time. However, the next time the Torah describes Noah and his family exiting the ark, uh, we're told actually the Torah commands Noah that he and his wife should leave the ark, and his sons and his sons' wives should leave the ark. Here it seems to be that God is telling him that now that the flood is over, now that destruction is over, it's time to reconnect, reunite with your family, and start thinking about the future. Start thinking about building a new world. The world was destroyed, but now it's in your hands to create something new. The world was created to be populated by God, and so therefore that's part of the human responsibility: is to settle the land, is to build, is to create, just like our Creator. The third time the Torah describes their comings and goings, we see something very surprising. Even though God has commanded Noah to leave with his wife and his sons to leave with their wives, that's not what happens. Noah leaves with his sons, and his wife leaves with his sons' wives. And so you see that they choose not to reconnect and reunite. It's almost as if this is based upon a teaching of Rabbi Shmuel Golden that Noah is psychologically destroyed. He can't contemplate the future. He's just seen the flood. He's just seen such destruction. He has no hope in the future, and he doesn't want anything to do with the future. He just can't. Psychologically, he is destroyed. Um, God tries to comfort him and says, I promise that I will never destroy the world again. But Noah is unconvinced. That's not enough for him to take a chance on the future and starting again and trying to rebuild and recreate. So then God offers another argument and says, Noah, up until now, the ethical integrity of humanity was based exclusively on the moral consciousness, that spark of the divine that I placed within Adam v'Chava in the souls of Adam and Eve, that human beings would know what to do is right just by their conscience alone. But that didn't work. So now I'm adding a set of ethical and legal and just standards, the Sheva Mitzvot B'nai Noach, the 7 laws that are universal for all human beings to follow, not to murder, to set up judicial systems, and so forth and so on. But Noah is still not convinced. He's still not comfortable enough with trying to move forward and recreate. In fact, you see that quite clearly, that his inability to move forward. What's the very first thing he does? What's the very first thing he does when he leaves the ark? He plants a vineyard, he creates wine, and he gets drunk. It's almost as if the text is telling us that the only thing that Noah can do after destruction is to escape the world, to have nothing to want to do with it, to give up on the future altogether. Now, contrast that with Abraham. He too has a very difficult life and has every reason to sort of give up on the future. Uh, we first meet him when he's commanded to leave his home, his family, everything that he's comfortable with, everything that he knows, and go to a land that he has no connection to whatsoever. And he's not a young man when he's commanded to do this. He's 75 years old, and yet he does so. That could in itself be enough. But when he gets there, he's not welcomed with open arms. Right? As soon as he gets there, there's a famine. He's then exiled. There are schemes made up on his wife to be kidnapped. His nephew later is kidnapped. He has to go to war in order to rescue his nephew. There, God informs him that he's going to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah because of the wickedness. Avram fights with God, but loses that challenge, that battle. And then he has to witness the destruction, the utter, complete, total destruction of a civilization. Um, he, of course, then also is commanded to take his beloved son, Yitzchak, Isaac, and sacrifice him. His wife dies. Right? The people in which he is surrounded by, when he goes to bury his wife, cheat him and try to create problems for him. He thought he was accepted, and he's rejected by this type of behavior. And the amazing thing is this, that in spite of all those challenges, and I said, absolute justification for giving up, not wanting to continue to be in this land that has not shown him any love at this point in time, not wanting to continue to build a family, to build an entire people. He has every justification to stop and return home, have nothing to do with it. That's not what he does. He moves forward. He chooses to create his family, to create a nation, to create a religion, to draw closer to God, to build, to create, and to continue. What I'd like to suggest, the main contrast between Noah and Abraham is this. They were both righteous individuals. They were both holy individuals. They both walked with God. But the difference is when there was a tragedy, Abraham persevered. Noah gave up. That to be truly righteous, it's not enough just to be holy, not enough just to say the right things, believe the right things, do the right things even. But part of holiness and part of being truly righteous is to have courage and hope in the future, to courage to recreate, the wherewithal to continue even amongst terrible situations. That's why Abraham is ultimately the individual who we aspire to be like, because he wasn't only righteous, but he had courage to build the future and hope that it would be better. And I think that's what's incumbent upon us, even at this incredibly dark and difficult time as well. Shabbat Shalom.